Hi everyone, my name is Nathan Knight, co-founder of OneCliq.
Hey everyone, I'm Tanika, also co-founder of OneCliq. OneCliq is like this cultural context engine that automates qual analysis for online commentary. And so what this does is it helps add this new kind of data layer to our traditional methods by looking at online conversations and getting a little bit closer to where consumers really naturally are to answer some of those exploratory questions around how people think and feel about a product, a brand, an event, anything like that, anything people are talking about online. Being able to understand that conversation at a speed and scale that was never possible before using qualitative methods.
So Tanika and I are actually sibling co-founders. Tanika is my older sister. I'm her younger brother. And we grew up in a really, I'd say, challenging childhood, quite far below the poverty line. But what's interesting about growing up in that childhood is it actually taught us so many valuable skills, like creative problem solving, resilience, probably the biggest thing, and then like really just learning how to build something from nothing. And so as we went through our education, you did 1,000,000 degrees, the biggest nerd ever. I did a couple degrees, like a regular person. We realized that we could, do more with our lives. And those skills that we learned as children, came back into play when we realized that startups might be a pathway where we can build entirely new lives for ourselves and build a future that, we could really thrive in. I had this little book of ideas that I kept all throughout my childhood.
This like dusty,
so dusty.
ragged book of ideas.
And they were like startup ideas because, as a kid I wanted to build a better life for myself. And I remember one day I came home from school, university, and I picked an idea in that book and I went to Tanika and I was like, do you want to build a startup? Like, do you want to pursue something bigger here? And you were like, yep. Like, it was like,
yes.
Not even before I finished the question, you were like, yep, I'm in. And that's kind of like how we got started, I would say.
Yeah. And that idea wasn't actually OneCliq. That
No.
was like way far off from where we were today. But like Nathan said, our, how we grew up helped us with the skills you need to build from scratch and not really know where you're going and discover that through like iterative testing in the market. And so eventually through many pivots and a lot of support from our community, we came to find this problem in marketing, which was really focused on research and looked a lot like the qualitative research that I used to do for nonprofits. Through building startups and making a lot of mistakes and learning, we learned a lot about generative AI. We were very lucky to be building at the time of generative AI, and we learned a lot about like a sober perspective on Gen AI, like what it's good at, what it's not good at. And so at the time we were also in Google for Startups, which is where we learned a lot about that and how to build sophisticated systems with this new technology. And so as we're learning more about this marketing research problem and how to build these systems, there was just like that aha moment where it just like clicked, And we realized we could build a system that could help automate a lot of the manual and mundane and time-intensive and repetitive work involved in qualitative research. And we started looking at online conversations because the data was very, readily available. And it just kind of took off from there. I mean, this was the first time we'd ever built a product where when we showed people like what the product could do, they were like losing their minds on Zoom, like literally like holding their head. They're like, what is this? Like, did you write this? What is going on? Like they're just confused,
It was like
a little outraged. It was like magic. So yeah, the journey was really started in our childhood and it was very painful, but at the same time, that pain and a lot of the learning from that enabled us to create something that was really valuable for people.
Yeah.
Who makes the decisions faster? Who overthinks more? Who's more likely to break the rules?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's more stubborn?
Oh.
I'm not.
Fight it out.
Who's more competitive?
In what?
Yeah.
Let's say sports.
Oh, well, sports, yeah.
What about, work life?
I mean, we're both pretty competitive.
Generally, yeah, we're both pretty competitive. You should see our mom. She's, yeah, that's where we get it from.
She once prayed to Jesus in a game that we would roll a bad roll on the dice.
Who's more likely to say, I told you so?
I don't feel like we say that
I
to
don't
each
think
other.
we've ever said that.
Yeah.
Who would survive longer on a deserted island?
me, just because
Definitely.
he has no desire to survive
Yeah,
on a deserted island.
No, no. Without Wi-Fi, what am I doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Who accidentally started fire?
Also you.
You?
No,
I swear you have.
I haven't. You blew up the lab in high school.
That's
you blew up a
different.
lab. She blew up a lab. She
The
shouldn't even be in this building right
chemicals
now.
in our chemistry class were
Yeah.
tainted.
Yeah, sure.
It wasn't my fault.
She's
I am
an
pretty sure
arsonist.
you've started a fire in the
Sure.
kitchen.
Oh, maybe a little
Yeah.
one.
I mean, as a researcher, your biggest motivation is to understand, in this case, consumers. And it's sometimes really challenging to access them. It's difficult to get people to sign up for an interview or a survey. And then once you have that data, you're like analyzing every little bit of that data, thematically coding it for, like themes across what people are saying. You have to aggregate those codes. I'm not going to get too nerdy. I could rant, but it's a really time-intensive process just to get to the results, which help you discover, insights and recommendations, kind of connect the dots and see patterns. That's the stuff you really want to do. And so the gap that we were really filling for people was helping them access like consumers and raw opinions, right? As I said, it's really hard to get people to engage sometimes, and people, especially younger folks like us, are more authentic online. We feel more comfortable sharing our opinions online, and so accessing that new data source was filling a gap in the kind of data quality issue that I think we experience in the industry. And then secondly, the analysis of that data. I mean, the sheer volume of comments that are online, or even just finding posts, right, that are relevant can be really challenging, and our platform does all of that automatically and with the same rigorous methodology that I would apply as a qual researcher, looking at every single comment. And so that gives you access to a database, a data source that you previously would never try to access because it's so hard to analyze every single comment or even find the comments themselves. But secondly, at a scale you could never imagine. I mean, some reports that we run are like 30,000, even up to 100,000 conversations depending on the topic. And that's impossible for any team, any human team, to do manually.
I think it also closes the gap from a cultural perspective. Like even myself, sometimes I have to run things on understanding like think Gen Alpha coming up into the world and posting online, like the slang they use, the culture that they have, like it's all very like new and emergent. And OneCliq is really good at picking up on that and like giving me back that knowledge and insight and something I could use for whatever I'm using it for.
That's a great point.
So for me, I was more on the business side. So trying to understand like how do we go to market, how do we, build a team, how do we get resources, and then I think the biggest part of my role is just resource allocation. So now that we have, we go out and get investors, we get capital, we go out and build an incredible team. I think that's the thing I'm most proud about is the team we built, and then we have this, amazing product vision. It's like how do we allocate resources in the timely order to actually accomplish those goals? Because it's not easy. Once you have those three things, it's like that's amazing to have it, but you have to do it in the right steps, and you have to do it with the right amount of allocation for each of those. And so that was mainly my role, is just pushing, I think, the train along and making sure it gets to the destination.
Yeah, and one of the things I think you're exceptional at is making tough decisions and having tough conversations. And I think this goes back to we were talking about how you can't lie, is that you have to be so like honest and upfront with people, and that really works in business. And so Nathan was really just like making sure that the team had everything we needed to do what we were doing. Such a critical role, and something that I am not good at. All of the things Nathan is good at, I am terrible at.
And vice versa.
And vice versa, and that's why we make
Don't
such a
let
great
her
team.
try to fire. I did the firing and the hiring.
I can't do either.
Yeah,
No,
it's
not
kind of
good.
funny sometimes.
Even great conversations.
Yeah.
I
Oh my gosh, yeah. One of our team members, when Tanika was talking about the acquisition, she was so burnt out. He was like, I don't get it. I think this is a good thing, but you're sounding like it's a bad thing. And I was like, Tanika, get out of the room. Like, okay,
like,
here's
why am I
what's
doing
happening.
this?
Here's why it's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm not good at
so
any of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're like two sides of the same coin with complementary skills. Where my skill sets are primarily around product vision, really understanding the workflow, having that domain experience as a researcher. also understanding where models are at and the capabilities and like what can we reasonably do with the different like generative models that exist, the different large language model providers, and what are the pros and cons of all of these different models. And then also looking at the workflow and breaking it down into a system. So I'd kind of describe that as systems design. Understanding, if these are all of the steps in the research workflow and these are the capabilities and limitations of these models, how can we then build a system that reliably uses these models where they're, for things that they're good at, we use software and degular like data science where these models are not good at those tasks to build a really coherent and comprehensive and reliable system that performs the same tasks that I would do manually. So that was kind of my role, primarily on the product and tech side of the team.
I think that was like, if I look back at our journey, I think that specific thing, that system side of you was like our superpower. That was the one thing that when everyone else was just doing like one-off prompts to ChatGPT to get like whatever, like not great output, we had a full system and an architecture around what we were doing. And it was like, you kind of cloned your research brain into the product, which gave results that people were legitimately like, this is magic. This is, you're blowing us away. How did you do this? Like we had a lot of credited engineers being like, you guys are weird. How did you pull this off with like very little like anything? And you just pulled it off. And so I think that was like the one thing I would say looking back that was like our competitive advantage for sure.
Yeah, thank you. I think, and I'll give so much credit to our team for being so, at the bleeding edge, seeing where the tech is moving and building for that direction, not even just where things are at now, but where we anticipate things moving to. And yeah, we were among the first founders in our ecosystem that were building like a system like that.
With generative AI, yeah. I think for me, the biggest thing is like the infrastructure and becoming way more scalable. Like it was kind of like a twisted reality we were in when the more users we got, the less runway we had, which is like usually you usually have the opposite. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting more users, which means more money, which means more runway. But for us, it was like the load, because people were using it so much, was actually like killing our runway. Like we were waking up and there's like, you've been charged like $1,000 a day, was it? $10,000 a week? It was something absurd.
There was a $10,000
yeah, that woke me up in the middle of the night.
It took years off my life. I think Sina has gray hairs because of it. Every time we got an email from OpenAI that was like, your account has been funded. Trauma, like great. So it came at a really opportune time. The infrastructure to be able to service the types of clients that we were getting as well, because we had a lot of like enterprise level clients that were interested, and the sales cycles can be a little bit longer there, and also the expectation of customer service is much higher there, much more than our little scrappy team could support. And also I think the more we met the leadership at Dig, we just felt at home. First it was Paul, who immediately understood the product and the value and like the gaps that we fill, and then we met Frank. and Joel and the two Joels, our faves, and Carl. Baby Carl. But the more we met folks, even yourself, Megan, we saw that everybody was aligned and had the same kind of values and vision for the direction of the industry and how we needed to change and evolve in order to keep pace with the cultural changes at the consumer level, right? And so it felt like a genuine, true strategic partnership where we had things that could elevate Dig and that Dig could leverage, and Dig had things that could elevate us and that we could leverage. And so it really just felt like a perfect, like hand-in-hand kind of partnership.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird gets the cheese. Early bird gets whatever the bird gets.
What's your favorite cheese?
I don't know the kinds.
Whatever's put in front of them.
City or nature?
City.
Okay. Texting or voice notes?
Texting, yeah.
Sweet or salty snacks?
Sweet.
I like both.
Okay. Depends on the mood.
Yeah, it depends on the mood.
Okay. Slack or Teams?
Slack.
I don't even start with Teams.
Listen, if anybody from Microsoft is watching,
I hate you. I can't stand you.
Please, just like
Please.
fix
Yeah,
it.
fix
You
it.
know, like I don't know what, but fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TikTok or Reddit?
TikTok.
I don't actually use either. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really use much social media. I'm gonna go Instagram. Breaking the rules.
There you go. I think there's been a lot of hype around Gen AI, especially in research and all of that. And I think that we've really benefited working so closely with it from this kind of sober perspective. I like the analogy of this like calculator moment for knowledge work. I think that's what we're experiencing right now with this new technology and where the industry is headed. What I mean by that is in research especially, there are a lot of moments that I call like these longhand math moments. We're doing longhand math in the process. We're doing something that's time consuming and repetitive and mundane. It's very low impact, but we're doing it because it's necessary to get to a result, right? Maybe we are collecting and analyzing data. We are, as I mentioned before, thematically coding. There's a lot that goes into that process that is very low impact, very manual, very repetitive work, longhand math, just to get to a place where we can identify patterns and connect those dots and get to some meaningful insights and recommendations. That's the stuff we really want to be doing. That's the stuff we're really good at. And so where I see the industry headed with this new kind of tech is, being able to automate a lot of that longhand math in our research process so that we can spend more time and energy on the creative strategic work that we love to do and that is way more high impact, right? For our brands, for our clients. That's the way I think in a researcher's mind, that's like the ideal world for research instead of spending 90% of our time on that low impact manual kind of grunt work. And so it's not a future where AI is doing that high impact creative strategic work. We still need human taste. We need judgment. We need us primarily in control of that. But I see this tech as enabling us to get to that work sooner and being able to spend more time on that work. And so I imagine, the industry becoming more empathetic, closer to consumers, right? More relevant to consumers, more responsive to emergent culture, because we have tools that allow us to respond faster, not tools that replace our judgment and what makes humans unique, right? But tools that help us understand one another at a deeper level and in a way that's, much sooner than the research cycles today. I mean, weeks or months to respond to something or even just to understand something is not relatable, right? Culture moves so quickly. Billions of people are posting online, for instance, and that's what really motivated us to focus there. They're posting signals about how they feel and think about different products and brands and their entire life experience. And so I think that the industry, to get closer to that, we need to look at our research process and automate the longhand math, right? Use a calculator for the longhand math. I mean, we've seen this with even spreadsheets. It didn't make accounting obsolete. It made our accountants more valuable. I think that's where we're going.
My answer's a lot shorter. I think the number one thing I see is speed. I've seen you, like personally seen you do that longhand math as you mentioned, and it's like, you come out and your like brain's completely fried, and you're like,
Can't read
I still have
word.
another 3 hours to go, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, and you're like, this project's about to be a week long now, and I was like, this is insane. And so for me, it's like really that speed to those insights. You touched on it a lot, and I absolutely agree. And we used to have this phrase in our team. It was months to minutes,
Yeah.
and that was like our number. That was like our roadmap. It's like, how do we take insights from months to minutes? And that was the number one thing we focused on. And I think we're getting there. And I'm excited that with Dig, I think we can actually bring it down to. I don't want to be too ambitious.
Yeah, don't tell the team that we said maybe
But
a few minutes.
a few minutes. I was going to say a few minutes. We're almost there. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm most excited about.
Right now, social listening tools tend to count engagement, or maybe they'll tell you the sentiment of comments. It's really good at telling you what's happening at a high level, right? At a great scale. But to understand the why behind those trends is really difficult for social listening tools. primarily these tools are designed with something that I call supervised classification. We're getting a little nerdy. But basically this means these systems are designed to detect patterns from patterns they've seen before. You have to kind of tell this system what it's looking for, right? With sentiment, it's very easy. There's only 3 kinds of sentiment: positive, negative, or neutral. So you can train the system to identify those types of comments, so much so that when it receives a new comment, it can reliably tell you if it's positive, negative, or neutral. But these systems are not good at identifying patterns in data where they haven't been told what to look for. So when it comes to topics and emotions, those labels, getting a little nerdy, but the types of topics and emotions people express in conversations vary greatly, right? If we're talking about sports, or we're talking about beverages, or we're talking about politics, that's going to be very different. And so social listening platforms today, they can't tell you what's happening in those conversations at a deep level. They can't tell you why people are expressing those types of sentiment. And so we've developed what we call unsupervised classification. Our dynamic classification system identifies those patterns kind of from the ground up. It's able to look at the data and understand what are the different topics and emotions being expressed in that data, which is different for every single report. And so that's how that extra kind of data helps us understand the why behind, the patterns and the trends that we're seeing at a high level. So ChatGPT is a more generalized kind of system, right? It's not designed for market research specifically. So when you ask it a question, like what do people think about, I don't know, X, Y, or Z, functional beverage, maybe it'll look at a few Reddit threads, maybe it'll look at a few web posts, like blog posts, things like that, websites. It'll summarize what it's found, and it'll present you with a kind of generalized answer. Whereas we're going to social platforms specifically, we are applying rigorous data science to those comments that we collect to understand the sentiment, the topic, and the emotions, so much so we can tell you what proportion of that data set has expressed any of those, sentiment, topics, or emotions. Chat can't do that for you. We can visualize charts as well on that data set specifically. So it's just a difference between a system that is very general, can give you a high level kind of summary of something, versus a system that was designed to mirror the type of methodological rigor that a researcher would apply to that same question, right? It's just very, very different applications will give you a different result. We've designed our system to, I will never say totally eliminate hallucination, because that's always a possibility with these types of technology, but dramatically reduce the likelihood of the system needing to hallucinate, because hallucination happens for a number of reasons. Mainly, the model doesn't have the context to answer your question accurately, and so it'll kind of convincingly lie. And so we've designed our system to ensure that the right context is passed to whatever model is being used at any point in the system, so that it's always got the right information to answer the right question, right? It sounds simple. It's actually pretty complex when you look at the architecture, but that's the main problem. We need to make sure that we're asking these models to perform a task that it actually has the context, the knowledge to perform.
So we also got some people from your team to share some facts about you. We're going to give you the facts, and then I'm going to ask you a question after that. So the first one is about Tanika. Sina said that Tanika has an incredible ability to spot where business, AI, and startups are heading next. Though in real life, her internal GPS doesn't always keep up, and she's been known to get lost in a crowd. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is your sense of direction really?
That's crazy.
Oh my God, is it only 1 to 10? Because I'd give it a negative number at that.
When was the last time you got lost and where?
Honestly, because of Nathan and Sina keeping such good watch of me, it hasn't happened recently. I always have an adult present to guide me.
She'll just drift off if she's walking behind in a crowd and she's lost.
You'll lose me, yeah.
Yeah.
Sina, we call her mother for a reason, because she's always like, hey, you're too far, and I'll look up and they're like kind of, terrible sense of direction. We park close by here. If they dropped me off at that parkade and said, get to Dig, which we've walked together many times, I would be lost in the city. Yeah, absolutely. I can't even use like Google Maps.
Yeah, she's so horrible.
Horrible. Yeah.
Alright, that's a negative on a scale of
Yeah.
1 to 10.
It's pretty bad.
Reina, she said that Nathan doesn't drink at all, but he promised himself one shot if OneCliq got ever acquired. And he followed through with it and went back to sobriety. So was it worth it, that one shot?
Was a shot worth it? Honestly speaking, that was the worst tasting thing I've ever tasted in my life. I don't understand how anyone could ever drink any alcohol like that. I can't stand it. Yeah.
Or was it tequila?
I think it was.
Tequila or
Yeah.
vodka or something.
I have a
like
video.
that.
I can show you the video, and I want to throw up. It's
He's, like,
so
foaming.
bad.
He's
I was
like-
like, why would anyone ever do this to themselves? And yeah, so was it worth it? I mean, no, no, no.
Don't drink.
The acquisition was, the shot wasn't. Yeah.
Tanika, Sena, she said that Tanika cannot spell the word health to the point that her phone will autocorrect to the wrong spelling because she spelled it wrong so many times. Can you spell health to us right now?
That's
Oh my
crazy.
god. Thanks, Sina. No. Yeah. No.
You don't even try.
I'm not even gonna try.
Spelled
This
it
is being
Helath.
recorded. Yeah, I always spell it Helath for some reason, and now it's just like muscle memory. I can't, and now I doubt myself every time I think of the word. So I won't even try. I don't need to do it anymore.
Okay.
Computers do it for me. You know.
Well, not with the autocorrect.
Except for
That you've
texting.
trained
Yeah, the
your-
autocorrect that I forcibly trained.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, no,
man.
it's bad. Thank you for sharing that fun fact.
Alright, and Nate, the last one for you. Sina also said that Nate can fly, and you would think that would hinder his ability to win board games, but no, he still beats everyone while telling the truth. Firstly, how do you do that? And secondly, is this how you approach business too?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for those of you who don't know, I ever since I was young, whenever I lied, my lip would curl, and it's like a huge curl. Like everyone's like, okay, this guy, like he has no poker face. So
He
I
looks
just
greasy.
I look.
He just looks like grease,
Yeah.
you know, when he tries to lie.
No, it's crazy, and so like you could pick it up immediately. So I just quite literally never lie, and like people are surprised by that. And I don't know, like I think that's the only approach I've ever been able to take, and it's been helping me so far in life. I mean, it's good to be transparent and collaborative in business. I think generally, if you have nothing to hide, then you can't really, get in trouble for anything. And so I just be as transparent, as honest as I can. And I mean, even if I tried it, it's very obvious. Like I wish that you could like cut to me lying or something on camera, but it's very obvious.
We should play that game like 2 truths,
Yeah,
1
oh, yeah,
lie,
I
just to
can't
see.
play that
That's
game.
the only game you
No,
can't
I
play. We were playing Exploding Minions recently, and
Yeah.
somehow he was still able to win without like lying, because he
Yeah.
would just not divulge information and leave the ambiguity to really mess you up. And
But
it
if you
worked.
ask me directly, I'll give you an honest answer. And people don't believe that, and it's like, that reflects on them, not on me.
Okay,
That's
wait.
us.
So these questions from the team make Nathan seem like an angel.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
am
yeah.
directionally
Yeah.
challenged,
No,
and I
don't
can't
worry.
spell. I need another question, please.
I was like, give me some more dirt on me.
He's an angel. Yeah, me. I'm
Angel.
sure there's a lot.
They said that you look incredibly well into the future.
That's
of
true.
business and
I'll
AI,
take
so
that.
That's true.
great.
Yeah.
So my number one piece to anyone who's looking or interested in starting a business is, you have to just take the leap. There's no amount of preparation, there's no amount of planning, there's no amount of documentation that you can do to really prepare you for the journey. The best thing and the only thing to really do is to get started. Take the leap. I often say, like, I've never had a fear of failure, but I have had a fear of not trying and that regret of not trying. And so I encourage people, like, trust me, like, being afraid of failing is the least of your worries. When it
Yeah.
comes to like down the road, you're like, man, I wish I should have done that. Like, take the leap. I mean, it transformed our lives. I think you just gotta jump into it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, especially now, because this is, I think, and I know it's been overhyped and all of that, but I do genuinely think now is the best time to build a startup. The barriers to access are so much lower. way lower than they've ever been. But also the tech, like I joke about being like that crazy cat lady in The Simpsons that's just throwing cats at everybody because of the way I feel about this tech cycle, this particular moment in history. But like every couple of decades, we experience a tech cycle that is so radically disruptive. It creates entirely new market categories or product categories, right? These are like category defining moments. The last one we experienced was mobile, but there's been quite a few in history, and we have the privilege of being able to look at those moments and learn and study them, identify patterns in what those look like and reflect that to today. And so I think that if you're building in this time today, like just participating is such a privilege. So I just want to also emphasize that just take the leap and start, because now is one of the best times and one of the best moments in technological history. And the last thing I'll end it on is like the experience is pain. Failure is like part of the entire process. You only learn through failure. And so don't feel like you're doing it wrong. Just know that that's the game, Like if you didn't know how to play basketball, you'd probably feel a little weird when you're on the court and people are trying to put the ball in the net. Like you have to know that that's part of the process. Don't be afraid of the failure or the pain. You got to lean into it, because that's the best way to learn as you go.
I think for us, like, we have a unique position because of the way we grew up together, and it's kind of funny, like, I always joke that we have, like, twin telepathy, even though we're not twins at all, like, you're 4 years older than me, but it's really handy, because, like, we can just look at each other and we just know what we're thinking, and that helps us a ton. It helps us in, incredibly high, intense meetings, like the acquisition negotiations, for example. We just look at each other and we instantly know what we're thinking, and that's, like, I think something that's kind of a superpower for us, but it's only because of the way we grew up and that we're siblings, and so twin telepathy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think trust, like that's really what it comes down to. And sometimes I feel like I take it for granted almost. And sometimes when I'm mentoring founders and they're talking about the struggles of finding a co-founder because of that lack of trust, like it's such an important partnership. And so I think that I sometimes take for granted that not everybody has that privilege, to just be able to literally trust and know that we are on the same page always. And if we're ever not, like, it's easy to get there, because we understand how we think. We know that at the end of the day we're doing what's best for the business. And that trust is just, it's so important, because building a business, as we mentioned, is purely pain, and you have to carry a lot of weight for a very long time. It's like a sprinting marathon, and you need to learn when to transfer that weight to each other, right? And if you don't trust that the person can do that, then it's going to create a lot of problems, inefficiencies. You're not going to be able to make that full, marathon. And so it makes things so much easier when I can just say, I know Nathan has this, or I know we're on the same page, or I know Nathan trusts me to make this decision on the spot. It makes a lot of it just so much easier and like bearable. And
bearable is a good word.
Bearable, yeah.
Especially in the early days when things would inevitably go horribly wrong all the time. I mean, we almost died like 4 times in our first year. Like the startup literally almost just never existed. But for me, it's like I carried a lot of weight, because I when I asked Tanika to join, and it was her decision to jump into it, but sometimes I'd feel like, oh man, did I screw up Tanika's life? Like, did I screw over my own sister's life by, dragging her into this, like, horrible pit of just like
pain.
Being poor and being pain, just the pain of being like, so it's like, I think I carried a lot of that weight, and that was only harder because she was my sibling. I think it would have been easier to navigate that weight if we weren't, if it's just some, a friend, for example. But at the end of the day, the reward was way sweeter that, we are siblings, because we're a family, and so we all, get to benefit from that. So, it's worth it.
The twin telepathy, I already knew that was, where you were going to go with that. No, I could definitely see that. I think for myself, I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but some people might think it is, turning the work brain off. We live together. So we work together, we live together, all of that. And so, but I do love that. I keep it on, because like, I don't know, we're very creative people, we're on the same page, and honestly, it really helped the startup, right? Because we're in the
Yeah.
same space all of the time, and you need to make decisions quickly. You need to have tough conversations often, and so having the comfort of being in the same space and being able to do that kept momentum high.
No, I agree. I mean,
yeah.
like, we didn't need work-life balance when we're so poor. It's like, what's the point?
That's not a thing with startups.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, like, you work on the weekends.
Yeah.
We worked on Christmas. We worked, like
we worked every Christmas except the last Christmas just now because
Yeah.
we're partnered with Dig now. We
Yeah.
have a nice little home,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is actually unfortunate that work-life balance is really challenging for startups, but that ended up being a benefit for us.
For sure.
And now it's just a fun little thing. One word.
Not two.
Maybe a hyphenated word. Yeah, it
Yeah,
might be pain.
Pain would be a good one.
Pain.
I think my word would be incredible. OneCliq was the most incredible journey of my life.
Yeah. Yet.
It
Very
was
good.
perfect.
Oh my God, how do I follow that up? I would say fulfillment. It was a very fulfilling experience as well.
Amazing. I think that you're good. That was amazing, guys.
That was
Thank
easy.
you
Yay,
so much.
super
Didn't need to
easy.
practice.
Um,
We watched
you're
earlier.
very
What were we
welcome.
saying?
What were we? I blacked out. I don't even know.